Hello. So now we will continue with Module 1, Lesson 2 on our modules in Rizal. So now we will talk about literature and society. So we will identify how important writings are. Why are we reading in the first place? How important is reading? So very important now to remember that in our class, kinanan palabasagid ka mo. Kad kung hindi ka mo palabasa, amo na ni ang tiyempo nyo para magbasa. So we will talk about the influences and functions of literature and how it shapes society. Okay? So, first activity, sino diri nagalantaw sang probinsyano. Sorry ni siya sa module nyo nga man na activity. So, reaction. Kung galantaw ka mo sa mga teleserye like sang A Provinciano, which tackles issues about police work, about crime, about things that are happening to ordinary Filipinos, ignore the superpowers of Cardo na daw hindi gid siya mapatay. But the thing is, kung galantaw ka mo sa mga muni na shows, may ara siya ginaistorya ng mga social-political issues as a form of entertainment. Are you inspired by this? Do you think that this shows, does it help shape society? Ka-influensya man siya sa aton o hindi? So, write down 2 to 3 sentences. Why? Ano reaction nyo when you watch these kinds of shows? Do you think literature is effective in shaping our society? Okay? So, please write your reaction on that. So, now, let's talk about the connection between literature and society. Okay. Sorry. Connection between literature and society, they say that literature reflects the society. Kay kung ikaw author, if you're a writer, of course you write what you know. You write what you experience. Hindi man gid na always na tanan na ginahambal mo amon tuod, but you cannot write something unless na may naintindihan ka mo sa topic na ina. Unless you experience something. Because if you cannot tell a good story from what you know, then paano maintindihan sa ibang nga tao ano ang ginasulat mo. So, that's why sometimes literature stories are a mirror to mirrors siya sa society naton. Gina-project niya anong mga dreams, anong mga wishes, or anong mga hinanakit sang isa ka author. So, gagwa na dila. In a society, people always live interdependently. That means that there's interconnections. We have, man is not an island. We cannot live alone. So there's always communication with one another. So, as a writer, as a poet, kina-express nilang feelings nila para maintindihan sang iba. You cannot be a writer without someone reading your work because there is a constant communication between person A, person B, and so on, so forth. Okay. So, literature influences our mind and our society. So, it could be very indirectly or directly. So, for example, there's this book. So, this is all in your module if you want to read. But there's Uncle Tom's Cabin by Stowe. This book inspired ang movement, ang revolution against slavery dira sa USA. So as you know, sa una na panahon in the 1700s, 1800s, sa Amerika, legal ang slavery. So, ang mga slaves, they are not considered humans. They are considered as property. But because of Uncle Tom's Cabin, a lot of people realize that they are people too. They are responsible. They deserve the same rights as other humans. So another important novel, actually series of novels, kung kilala niyo si Charles Dickens, he wrote Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, Bleak House. Grabe ni siya ang mga stories niya. Kay dance, for example, sa Oliver Twist, a lot of his books talk about child workers, sa mga bata bala na nagaobra sa mga factories. Imagine yun na 5 years old ka, 6 years old, ginapaobra ka na, dahil ng mga obra na ini, grabe ang damo nagamasakit, gutok ka mo, wala ka mo ginapagkaon, wala sang benefits. So, makita mo ang mga nagabasa diri naluoy sa main character kay amo ni gina-experience na this led na naglain ang mga layi. That's why subong hindi na pwede ang child labor. Kinahanglan may workers compensation. Kinahanglan hindi magutom. May mga karapatan na subong ang mga laborers, even na ang minimum wage na mga sweldo ara dira. Because amo na ginsulat niya ang mga experience, ang mga nakita niya, ang mga natabo that time, it changed a lot of laws for the better. There's also the novel Chori Thorin, which is by Sarat Chandra Chattopadhyay, which talks about conservatism about women. You know that women, sa una na panahon, covered, gid ang mga babae, hindi gani kapakita. If you're unmarried, hindi ka pwede kapakita sa imo itsura, kina may veil gina. Kung dalaga ka, hindi ka kagwa na wala ka asang escort. So, mga amo ni siya na things, there's a lot of conservative ideas. So, mga books about women somehow nag-pave some way to be more accepting that a woman can be independent, a woman can be strong. So, all of these stories somehow naka-inspire sa mga tao para mag-make some changes. So, that's why, again, there's a lot of connections between literature and society. Next, let's talk about how society creates literature. As I have said, that um, mga literature can inspire the society to change. But at the same time, it's the society man ang inspire para mga writers magsulat. Kaya ang ginasulat man ang nila, ano ang gina-experience nila. So there are two kinds of writers kuno. Ang conservative-minded writers. So these conservative-minded writers, they will talk about social life. They will talk about ano mga traditions naton, ano ang mga values, anong mga respect naton, ang mga naandan naton bala. These are things that keeps the society stable. So when we talk about patriotism, when we talk about loving one another, loving our parents, these are conservative. Again, just because it's conservative doesn't mean na sala na kinanan i-change because some things na naandan naton is necessary ginman kat tuod ginman na tsakto siya. Amon kinanan naton to be good with one another. So, some writers will write about how good life is as long as we follow these values. That gina-promote nila things that will make our life better. But at the same time, there are progressive writers. So, may ara man sila gahambal na ang mga old ideals, some old opinions, kina-restrict nilang freedom naton. Though, wala kita do ara lang kita sa sulod sang box. Sometimes it is good to have new ideas. Sometimes it's also wrong. But kanami man kisa na mabasa naton ang different ideas, different opinions para manumduman kita. Do you think na tsakto? There's always the idea that if something works, it will stay. If something does not work, it will no longer stay. For example, sa una, you have to have a horse-drawn carriage and a horse para mag-travel sa isa ka lugar. Subong, pila ka karawahin na makita nyo. Because the time may na-invent kita, there are progressive ideas wherein na gingamit na learn naton magamit sa electricity. Nagamit kita sa mga motor, sa mga engines, and now we have cars. So, with progressive ideas like this, now mabalik kita sa something na although it was good, it had to be improved. So progressive ideas want to look into the future. Gusto nila maglain or mahatag sa ideas na what if ang mga old ideas madulaanay? Why don't we replace them? So again, this is both good and bad. Sometimes being conservative is good, sometimes it could be bad, Being progressive can also sometimes be good, it can also be sometimes bad. But ang mga writers na may ara na sila punto sa ginahamba nila. And kamo mismo manumdum kung paano naton i-practice ni ang mga points na ini. Do we accept them or do we not accept them? Do you understand? May mga questions ka mo, comment lang ka mo para ma-explain ko further. Okay. So, then there's the high culture and the popular culture divide. So, maghamba kita high culture. Though, ang maghambal kita, they say that this is the product of sociologist's comfort with aesthetic evaluation. Which means na sa mga modern countries na to ginahamba nila naga-focus kita sa mga high culture, ang mga things pala that paano ni ma-explain na daw traditional, daw ginatun-an gid ang mga daw ginabasa gid bala mga libro na nato anong meaning ni nagsulat siya that there is a red curtain. Ano na ang meaning sang red curtain na inaman? So, amo na daw even if may meeting o hindi to try gini understand. And then there's popular culture or also known as pop culture. So, maghambal ta pop culture kung anong uso. So, sometimes, di maano ka, sana all, uso, dili, subong, gina catchphrase na. Maybe later, di na na siya uso ihambalon. Pero ang iba naman, in high culture, we don't really notice that. So, dira, in a way na ang high cultures, there's ideology, there's philosophy, na wherein kontrolado sang ruling class, sang mga powerful, sang mga thinkers, na dapat amo ni siya kadto ginahambal nila ang popular culture and pop culture though hindi man na malasgid though hindi na ya endearing hindi na siya enduring kad to low class. So there's a problem with that when it comes to literature. Mabasa mo na siya, for example, kung gabasa ka nobela or gabasa ka sa pocketbook or gabasa ka sa web novel, though may ara sang lain na way sila magsulat. Lain na magsulat ang mga na-train, lain magsulat ang do writing for fun. And there is again some of them are popular, some of them are not. And then may mga fans ang mga para sa popular novels, there are fans for high literature. And then sometimes doga debate sila ano gin man ang mas nami. So importante ga para sa ato for thinkers, for critics, very important ang to analyze and to see how special it is. Well, for the masses, basta nasadyahan kuya, basta ga-enjoy lang ko. Like maglantaw ka mo movies. Kung galantaw ka mo da sa Avengers, kay nasadyahan ka mo. Tay may mga iba na mahambal na hindi man ginamo na kanami because superhero film lang na. Ang manami iya, ang mga ga-analyze gid, ang mga documentaries. But in the end, I think makita we all know that whatever we enjoy dira kita kakadto. It's good to also watch things that make shows literature that makes us think. At the same time, we should not also disregard pop culture is also part man sang aton na daily life. Okay? So, dili nato makita sa mga literature kung anong popular ng uso, anong mga opinion sa mga tao, anong ginapanumdum naton. Okay? So, now let's go to our first thought paper number 1. So, based on what we have talked about, ang ginistorya ko sa inyo, given the characteristics of literature and the hazards of translation, is Republic Act 1425 realistic? Why or why not? The paper must not be less than 300 words and not be more than 6,000 words. So, reaction yun ni. Panumdum ka mo, hindi na ka mo maghimo sang simple report which is there on your module. I just want you to make a thought paper, the reaction paper. So, amo nang inyo na perspective as a Rizal student. Ginamba dili not more than 6,000 words, but in my opinion, one page at most. At least 300 words. At most one page. Hindi na pagpalaba, kapoy sa akon mag-check. So, email lang na sa akon. Then assessment, so name 3 classical literary works. Ang mga books, stories, research ka mo, that naka-influence, naka-change ng society. I already mentioned some works and then it's there in your module. And then, what do you think are the three roles of literature in society? And then, ano ang different sa conservative, creative, or progressive writers when they are shaping the minds of people in society? So this will be your next activity. So we will end here and then we will continue with Rizal on being the Philippine national hero. Thank you.